Hello and welcome to PDFsupply.com. Today we're going to be discussing how to set up a temporary IP address to connect up to an IC695CPE330. So before we begin, I want to show you my physical configuration here, which is an IC695CHS007 7-slot rack. You can of course also use a 012 or a 016 rack, which is fine. My power supply is an IC695 PSA040, and of course we have the CPE330 right here. Now you'll notice I have a local Ethernet cable on our network which is plugged into it, okay, and I have flashing LEDs to tell me that it's a working communication, and I'm also in the top port, which is very important. This is the one for communication and programming. So one thing that I want you to do is, if you guys are in a room with a computer where the computer is separate from this device, this CPE itself, make sure that you write down this MAC address, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to communicate with this if this is a brand new out-of-the-box unit, which this is. Okay? So take down the MAC address, and the next thing that you want to do is establish a new file in Proficy Machine Edition. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go into my Proficy Machine Edition software, go to File, New Project, and the template we're going to use, of course, is the GEIP PACSystems RX3i, and for argument's sake we'll call this the CPE330 IP config. Alright. We'll say OK. It'll create a new file. Now that we have this new file, follow these simple steps. I would recommend, I have a 07 slot rack, which I mentioned before. So we're going to replace that, CHS007. Again, you guys can use a 012 or a 016. I have my PSA040 power supply and my CPE330. Alright. So for me, I'm just going to stop right there, and the first thing that I want to do is go to Target, Offline Commands, and Set Temporary IP Address. This is where we're going to put in the MAC address. So the first selection here is MAC address. Alright. And the next thing we're going to do is select an IP address, and what I would recommend is that you select an IP address that's far different than anything else that you have on the network, so you don't conflict with another device when you're trying to connect up. Okay, so for me, I'll just put in a number of 227 here, and the next thing is enable interface selection, which I'm going to select that. Click down below, it has an auto configured number in here, and go to Set IP. Now at this point, if you came up with an error right here that told you that there was a problem with the IP address that you've selected, that means that it went outside to see if that IP address is already being used, and it's telling you, again, if you get the error, not to use that address, or that it won't configure it because it's selected for something else. So I didn't have that problem. Like I said before, I selected a number that I knew was not on our network. I'm going to hit OK, and now it's going to go through and communicate through the MAC address and give us our IP address, or configure our IP address, which has been successful. Okay, as you can see here. So I'll say OK, and I'm going to exit out of the temporary IP address. I'm going to connect up to the processor by hitting the lightning bolt icon, and the green handprint, which will toggle to online mode. Please note down below, we are in programmer mode. The processor is not in run, or it's stopped. The inputs and outputs are disabled. The configuration and the logic are both not equal. So we're going to do a couple things. First, we're going to expand on this CPE330 by hitting that plus sign. And you can either double click or right click on Ethernet. And we're going to start putting in our information for port number 1, which was the 227, which I chose. And of course we'll do a subnet mask. And the next one we're going to do is a different number here, 229. The other thing is you need to put in a different subnet mask. So I'm going to use .0.0, 255.255.0.0. And that should work without a hang-up. The next thing we're going to do though, however, if you noticed before where configuration or logic are not equal, so it's technically faulted because again this processor is brand new out of the box, as a lot of you are going to be dealing with it. So I'm going to go to clear, controller and I/O fault tables, okay, and yes I want to clear those, just the bottom two selections, nothing else right now. And then we're going to go to download and run. What we're going to download, as it asks us, is the hardware configuration and motion and logic. Just the top two selections. I'm going to try to get this into run mode. And once it's gone through its download, which is extremely rapid, it's going to ask us if we want to enable the outputs, and we do want to, so I hit yes. And as you can see, we're successfully into run mode. By looking down below at this status bar, programmer mode, run enabled, and outputs are enabled, configuration logic are both equal. Okay? So that's a very, very simple way to take a CPE330 directly out of a box. This video is more for the people out there that don't have an ETM001. So as you can see, this is a very easy device to connect up to. Okay? Thank you for watching.